River Crest.
Did you see what I said? Oh, well, oh, I'm sorry. And oh my god. Just. My god.
I pushed the wrong button and I wound up amazing. Hi, Christine.
They have my in-laws. We have the finger. Why, you don't want to say over here?
There he is.
Yeah. No.
I've seen you there.
Steve, how do you do
Good evening, everyone. Good to see you all. Thanks. We were previously in closed session. We're now back in open session. Again, welcome to everybody. We're going to start off this evening with the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. A moment of silence will be in remembrance of Erin McManus Keys tonight. Erin served the community in many different capacities. She will be remembered for her endless energy, her beautiful smile, and her love for her family. Erin followed her father's footsteps and served as a commissioner on the Lambertville Board of Fire Commissioners. And our deepest sympathy goes out to her family and all her friends. So please remain standing after the Pledge of Allegiance for a moment.
Yeah, let's keep our kids and our husband and our family and our prayer.
Pledge of Allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you. Please be seated. That's on the agenda, the approval of the minutes. Have the council members had a chance to look through the minutes and any suggested changes or amendments or edits?
Well done.
All done. Okay. Hearing none, I would like to have a motion to approve the following minutes as submitted and as amended. March 2025 closed session minutes, March 2025 the meeting minutes, March 3rd 2025 meeting minutes, and March 3rd 2025 closed session minutes.
April, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, April, excuse me. It's April 3rd and closed session meeting minutes.
So moved.
I'll second it. All in favor, please say aye.
I need to speak up, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll note that we have Councilman Lyon joining us online tonight. Motion passed. Last the administrative reports. So it's everybody a chance to look at the administrative reports. Okay. May I have a motion to approve the administrative reports, please?
Second.
All those in favor of approving the administrative report, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Now we're stuck with the budget. We're going to have the board for discussing the budget this evening. We do this every year. Some years we've had an actual separate meeting for the budget, in addition to the two required meetings in which we introduce the budget and then have a second reading and public hearing. But we also like to make sure that everybody's having time to take a look at the budget, and we're going to give it a little space tonight to see if anybody has any specific questions about the budget. We have Michael Drulis here. He is our budget consultant. We also have Christy Arrett online. She is our CFO and our QPA. So welcome to you both. Good to have you with us this evening. And also representing the city tonight, Bill. That's not Bill over there. This is Jess Almeida, who also works with Bill. She'll be here representing the city. So I'm going to read the first page of the budget, and then I'll open this up to public comment or questions. So it's with pleasure that I propose the 2025 introduced budget with a total expenditure for municipal purposes of $8,105,330, supported by a municipal levy of $4,523,950 and $3,581,380 in other revenues. The budget will fund city operations, deliver statutorily required essential services, expand local programs, meet inflationary pressures, and permits for capital improvement in the city's infrastructure, property, and equipment. The budget meets city obligations through reasonable revenue projections reflective of strong economic conditions that build fund balance, foster a balanced approach to the use and restoration of reserves. It takes a conservative approach on spending for operational expenses while staying within the state mandated appropriation and levy caps. As it relates to budget revenues, the 2025 levy is derived in part from an increase in the estimated tax rate for municipal purposes, like 0.009 on balance with a strong real estate market, increasing the city's total assessed value by $73,322,500 to, $995,947,919. In effect, for every $100,000 of assessed property value, there is an increase of $8.81 per year to your local tax bill. The average residential assessment for 2025 is characterized as $448,738, making the average tax bill increase $39.53 per year. Or simply put, the average local tax bill will increase less than $10 a quarter. Lambertville's ongoing economic prosperity and attractiveness to visitors have generated more than $400,000 in new other revenues over 2024 to the city in support of governmental service activities. As it relates to budget appropriations, some of the largest components, such as overall employee salary and wage, stay below the projected 2% cost of living increase, and payment for debt service has begun a downward trend with 7% reduction in 2025. The rising cost of insurance and pension caused an increase of more than $185,000. And this budget will continue the city's effort to meet near-term future obligations, strengthening the city's reserve position for costs related to accumulated absences by $55,000 and pending litigation by $91,000. Both the city of Lambertville and the borough of Frenchtown continue to receive financial benefit in the sharing of services for construction code and zoning officials through our interlocal agreement. This budget provides a financial plan for the hiring of a much-needed shared business administrator to take on an important leadership role in service to our communities and a fraction of the cost to our taxpayers. I hope that you'll agree that the budget highlights show the city of Lambertville is on strong economic footing. In addition to this message, they provide an accompanying in-depth analysis to the April 8th introduced budget. Print copies may be requested through the clerk's office at City Hall. So this budget message we posted to the city website yesterday, and it's available for viewing by everybody. Hopefully, it breaks things down into a kind of more approachable narrative for people who are not finance. Don't have a background in finance. With that, I would invite anybody from the public who has a question or a comment about the budget to please step up and say your name and address, and Michael and I and Christy will be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Anybody online? Okay. Well, that's great. Did you have a question?
Yes. We're from the senior citizens of Lambertville, Delaware Valley. And at one time, we were a line item on the budget. A few years, maybe, I think how long, 10 probably. We have not been. And we did get donation of $500. And we are the only senior club in Hunterdon County that does not receive money from the city or the county. And we were just wondering what you could do for us, because we don't have a very big budget. And if the money that we have is gone, then the senior group will be gone. And we don't want that to happen. So we just thought, we came to see what can you do for the seniors, or can you do anything for the seniors?
We talked about this a little bit, I think, in a couple of years ago. Cindy, we had talked about this. There was a point at which there was, I think, some.
Yes, you and I talked about it. You and Phyllis and I, we talked about it.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah, and I think that part of it was that the senior group was not specifically Lambertville residents, is that correct?
if we have a Stellar Valley, so.
Okay,
Well, it's always been that way. It's always been people from other places, not specifically Lambertville.
Counselor.
Right, I think that we should support this group. This has been
Thank you.
an ongoing, group that's been active in the community. They.
Yeah,
run
we've been
trips,
the group since
They-
1947.
And I, we need to support them, so.
I
I'd
mean,
like
we
to,
go
I
to
don't know
county-
how.
We go
do
to
this.
county meetings, Phyllis does. I'm sorry, Phyllis goes to county meetings, they have ones every month. And they sits there and people tell her how much money they get from the city, from the county, or not from the county, from the township. And they ask us, how much do we get? And we say nothing.
Okay, well, I'm certainly happy to commit $500 for the group. As long as, it's going to Lambertville residents and area residents, so.
And I think that we should talk and face and find out, how we can, support you otherwise and what things you're talking about.
It's like this, and I have a lot,
And partner together, because we're all.
right now, like in May, we have our anniversary lunch. And we have to pay for it, and that takes money away from us. Then we have to somehow try to raise money so that we don't go broke.
Okay, well, I'll commit to,
I'll be happy
I'll personally commit to $500 in budget this year, and, Councilwoman, if you'd like to maybe, work that group.
Take-
Group it up.
right?
That's so great.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Any other questions or comments?
Judy Gleason, 86 North Union Street. I just have, what is the increase in the budget this year for? We have an increase. What for? What's it for? What are we getting, what are we spending money on this year that we didn't spend money on before, so that it's only however amount you said? But what is that only however amount you said for?
Well, some of the new appropriations include increases to state health care benefits. Certainly, we are going to increase our we have litigation fees this year of $91,000 that we've included in the budget. That's a new expense. A potential salary for an administrator, we've put a placeholder in for $50,000 for that. Michael, what else do we have here? Just a bunch of things.
I'm sorry, you said for an administrator, do we have?
We do not. No,
Okay.
Mayor, I'd be glad to jump in if you'd like.
thank you, please.
Regarding the administrator, so the budget provides $50,000 if an administrator were to be hired through a shared service agreement. So the appropriation is in there, not necessarily spent. Most items in the budget are appropriations to be spent, as you might know.
Okay.
There's been, as the mayor mentioned, the salary and wages go up as do cost of living increases. You did mention it was under 2%, but there's still an increase. There's been some reorganization of positions within the city that has helped to reduce the total increase in salary and wages. The big expense change in items under the cap were, as mentioned, $91,000 reserved for maintenance and people. And then there's an increase this year of approximately $30,000 reserved for accumulated absences. And that would be to pay out contractual obligations for benefit time that is due based on the contract, as well as future retirements. When that money becomes due, we reserve it, so we have it. other in
Excuse
capital.
me, I'm
Yes.
sorry. We reserve it every year though, don't we? So it's increased this year.
We do, but we have something like $600,000 in total accumulated absence that we need to account for. So we are building a reserve of that fund so that as we go along, so within 5 years or 10 years, when we start to see significant retirements in particular categories, namely the police department, that we're able to kind of meet those payouts that are going to be required as a result of the police contract.
The calculated target has always been $55,000. And you're right, and that's been in previous year budgets. This year, we're able to get to that $55,000 number. And by getting to that number, we are also able to pay out current year obligations based on current year rates on these contracts. And 55,000 is a projection that we can stay there. And that would get us where we need to be in years ahead. Other areas to consider, we're able to reserve this year almost $30,000 into our capital improvement fund. So putting that money into that fund makes it available as we make those improvements. So necessarily we're spending it, we're just committing it to the fund. So all of these, both of these items, whether it's accumulated absence or whether it's moving to capital improvement fund, you're building your fund balance. So by having some appropriations in the budget, it improves our total savings. And that's why the city continues to see an improvement in its credit.
So when you said we're able to add this, you meant with an increase, we're able to add this. With an increase that we talked about already, which is, you know, what it is. We're able to do these things because we're increasing our taxes.
In part, we're increasing the amount of revenue we're bringing in through the fees and other revenues that come in from cannabis sale, for example. So not only are we relying on the tax rate for a modest increase, and I use the term modestly, it's a relative term that I understand. But the most of the income revenue is from drawing in from activities related to other revenues like cannabis sales, parking, etc. So.
Thank you.
No, I am. I'm Trina Burgess, I live on 142 George Street.
My name is David David. I'm from 148 George.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Yeah. So today we received a copy of an article about the PFAS crisis.
No, I'm sorry, this is just about the budget.
Oh, yeah.
We'll have public comment in just a couple of minutes, so if you have a specific question about the budget.
Yeah, it's about
Sorry.
So related to that, we were wondering if there can be some tests that can be done in the houses in George and in our neighborhood to make sure that there's no bad chemicals in our water. So we were wondering if that can be put in the budget, some testing budget for the water.
There was some grants or something like that.
You have water through Veolia, so public water, so your water does not need to be tested, it's tested regularly by the company who provides the water to its customers. So when we talk about contamination, we talk about contamination of private wells in the city, so not on city water. So there's no testing required for your water if you live downtown.
Okay, is it ever tested though?
I couldn't tell you the specifics of how often or what kind of testing Veolia is doing, but obviously it's a public utility, so it's the rigorous testing protocols, absolutely.
Okay, all right. Thank you. I believe it's just a point of information. If you go to Veolia's website, they do have the testing result. They do post their testing results.
water.
Yeah, and you can, I'm not sure what the interval is, so I'm not defending it, but it's worth taking a look. And then if you have any questions, come back.
All right, thank you.
Right?
Thank you.
Anything else about budget? Okay, how many people do we have online, please?
Well, we had to.
We had two. We lost them already.
Mhm.
All right, well, thank you for being here, whoever you are. Yes.
Hey, John Towns, Hancock Street. So quick question. I know New Jersey State is a little fishy with their budget. They'll pull funds out of different things and put in other shortfall areas. Does Lambertville City do that? First question. Second question, have we looked at a way to diminish the tax burden on people by, say, putting additional fees on parking tickets or say speeding tickets within the town? I know the state does that. I don't know if Lambertville could look at doing that as a budget surplus of sorts, but certainly something we could look at to diminish the amount of taxes that are going to be going up.
Yes, certainly, I think that we take an approach where we are always looking for ways to improve the revenue and doing that kind of across the board. So one of the things that we'll do tonight is we're going to introduce an ordinance that will increase a very modest amount, construction related permitting fees, things from like $38 to $40, right? I think it was last year or the year before, we increased the parking meter fee by 25 cents an hour, which brought in, I don't remember the exact number, but brought in a considerable amount of money over the course of the year. So we are looking at different ways all the time in which we can offset the tax levy by increases in the revenue. We do that regularly. So at least once or twice a year, I think we've looked at fees for everything from landlord registration to we have for those people who have who live in a separate business district and have a parking permit, there's an automatic increase every year in those fees. So we do look at this regularly, ways in which we can lessen the tax burden by increasing our revenue in other ways. We'll also tonight, for example, consider an ordinance which will extend hours for one of the possibly one of the cannabis businesses in the central business district. If that ordinance is adopted and they're open later, we'll be generating more revenue through the taxes gained through sales later in the evening, that kind of thing. So we do consistently and continually look at ways in which we can improve our revenue stream. So yes, and then in terms of your first question, there are very rigorous standards for us in terms of how we spend our money. Everything is backed up by resolutions and ordinances. We have auditors that come in every year to audit all the municipal finances. So there are rigorous protocols and protections in place in terms of.
So just to clarify, unless there is a council vote on, say, oh, we've got $40,000, $50,000, $100,000 in this one account, but want to spend it on this, that has to go through budget committee and.
Every single penny that's spent in the city is approved by the council. So tonight we will put forward the bills list. The council has looked at every single check that I just signed today. It was like 130 checks totaling, I don't know, it was a great deal of money because we paid the county today hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? So yeah, nothing happens without a council vote. Okay, every single penny that gets spent. Anything to add there, Michael?
Sure. So we are New Jersey's shocker, very unique from every state. And the way municipalities do their budget is on a financial basis, everything's on a cash basis in this document. So there really is, it seems pretty deep, but if you take time to go through it, you'll see it's all there.
I guess what I was looking for clarification, and I believe I got it, was we're not following Trenton's.
Different, they have a different accounting methodology.
Good, and that's all I cared about.
In November, and they'll come back to the meeting in November, you may see the budget transfers. So as we get through the year, if we find that something didn't happen, we thought was gonna happen, something vice versa, this council will make a decision to do those transfers again. Right, so it's a very public process. It's your question about other revenues. A lot of analysis is done. And this governing body is always passing ordinances to make sure that properly recouping the fees and the costs associated with ethics services. So this budget brings in almost $150,000 more than the previous year, just in those categories.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Anything else? I would ask for a motion to close the public comment period, please. On this.
So moved.
All seconded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion carries. And now we'll move on to our public participation constitutional concern area. So this is the time when members of the public, unless you've got mobility issues, you may step up to the microphone. We have to state your name and address. Oh, yeah, Michael, we're all done to do, right?
I'm glad to stay or.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, we're gonna hold off just a second, so Michael can, I just forget to say, Michael, there we go. Hey, Chrissy, thank you for being here, we appreciate it, we'll see you on May 1st for the secondary event and public hearing budget.
Thank you. Have a nice night, everyone.
Thank you, Chrissy.
Michael, you have any spare change you wanna leave with me?
Got rid of all the stuff in the couch cushions for this introduction.
Check the chair cushions.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, gentlemen. So, as I was saying, public comment, you have 3 minutes, so I'm not trying to make your comment or ask your question. Lindsay will give you a 30-second warning, and we ask that you kind of stick to that 3-minute time period so that you can hear from everybody who would like to speak. Right, please.
Jeff Tittle, 33 Wilson Street. I wanted to ask some questions about the line item or the resolution tonight for the hiring of experts on PFAS. And in looking at what I see, it raises concerns with me. It seems as if we're hiring an attorney and an engineer more to protect the town than to actually deal with some of the issues that we're facing, like the people up on Connet Hill who have had to file tort claims because, and of course the city is named in it, because of all the different pollution that they're finding in their wells. We're up to 71, and that number is going to probably be 100 and maybe more between the two towns by the time we're over. And so the concern I have is that if we're going to be looking to hire experts to deal with PFAS, then they also should have to work with the community up there and their issues. Two, we need, if we're going to have any chance of winning the case against Hovnanian, we cannot dump the issue of PFAS on that hill. That groundwater is contaminated. In order for them to get up there, they're going to have to find a way of remediating if they can, if they're unlined and cap the landfill. But we don't know how big it is. I do know that a house across the street from the landfill, which is 100 feet past where they were going to be building houses up there, they found a car and garbage when they built the house on the other side of Coryell. And if you go up on Coryell, they're going to be the first 100 feet coming up of Coryell is where they want to put 35 units. So how big is it? What's the contamination? The PFAS is the highest there. It's at 140 parts per trillion at that high spot by the house across from there. Plus we have to deal with the factory and everything else. So if we're going to be getting engineers, it shouldn't be about defending the city against the residents up there. It should be working with the residents up there and using what we find there for helping in the litigation with Hovnanian and Fair Share. Also, we should be looking at joining a class action suit against the manufacturers, and we can find out very easily who they are. But more importantly, what we should be doing is using our professional staff that we're hiring to petition DEP to have that area declared an area of immediate environmental concern so that DEP can bring in resources to help. Secondly, and most importantly, is we should be petitioning DEP to make a spill act directive so DEP can take over that site and actually be able to get onto the hill property on Wilson's property to be able to do proper testing of soil and water and all over that site, because besides the landfill, besides the factory that was used for electronics, there's also an old orchard, there's ball fields from the 50s that may have used arsenic, there's been illegal dumping all over the place. We need to get a handle on it. We need to get DEP in there to do the job. This may be a good step tonight. I don't know. I'll wait for when you discuss it, but you got to do a lot more. This is a dangerous situation. There's a crisis up there. There are people with cancer, children with cancer. There are people with colitis. PFAS doesn't go away. DEP is now promoting regulations on dealing with PFAS. I don't know how you can build residential housing on top of a pile of toxic water that can kill people, and it's a forever chemical that bioaccumulates in people, so whether it's in the soil or in the water, that is not a place for any development, whether it's affordable or any. And my final point is, this is an environmental justice issue. We do not put our people on top of toxic mountains. Thank you.
Hello, John Towns, again, Hancock Street. So I got some kind of disturbing information. One of the residents of the Hill had reached out to the court, spoke with the clerks, and one of the things that was brought up was the judge was not aware of the environmental concerns up on the Hill. Well, I think my city council should take offense, as much offense to that as I do, that our lawyer and whoever else went up there to speak with the judge didn't bring that up. By the way, let's just clarify, folks, the PFAS is not just in the water, it's in the ground. Now, since I spoke to you guys back, well, I don't know what, August of last year, I said that was the city dump. Everybody gave me a dumbfounded look. No, it's not. There's no record in our files. Why hasn't anyone contacted the county? They have the records. Or at least somebody from the city should be going up there looking. Now, folks, I brought this up last time I came up here last month. I said, listen, I'm not having a real warm, fuzzy feeling about my city leaders. Because once again, Cogden Hill is getting dumped on. Back in the 50s, when we had 55 flood, all the garbage from downtown was brought up to the Lambertville dump. When Lambert Lane, what was it, the Riverside restaurant burnt down, where'd all that garbage go? Right up in that dump, middle of the 70s. And it was closed sometime in that region. Now, if I, not being a smart person, and you guys, obviously being the smarter ones, could find that out on my own, why aren't we investigating? Now, if all you want to get together some money and buy a bunch of houses up there on that hill, I'll take 500 for mine. You can have it. But all my neighbors are very, very, very frustrated with the glacial movement of this committee, of this council. It's on you guys. And again, if you want me to go do the work, I will. You all read the article that came out today. So now it's getting out there. Can you guys please do something? Notify the court. Contaminated ground and groundwater. Identify where that dump was and whoever owned it. Please. Thank you.
Can you respond?
The council doesn't have to respond. I'll have a brief statement, and in a little while. We're not obliged to respond. We often do, but often it's sometimes we like to hear everything before we respond. Sometimes we don't have all the answers in order to respond in a way that somebody might like. So please go ahead.
Marcia Tucker, 19 Douglas Street. The PFAS issue is more widespread than Canalville. It's all over Douglas. I have high levels.
Please, just one person speaking at a time so that everyone can hear the speaker. Thank you.
So I really would encourage the council to reach out to the state, get the dump really treated and cleaned up, because I've heard there are 50-gallon barrels up there of God only knows what. Now, there's more kinds of PFAS than just what is necessarily tested in the reservoir. I don't know if they do the full spectrum, but that's something I would be very concerned about, because each kind of PFAS has a different way of dealing with the human body. So thank you for anything you can do to clean that up.
Good evening, members of the City Council, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm here to express my concern about, Sarah Manship, 62 Ferry. I'm here to express my concern about the closure of Cavallo Park, which is disproportionately impacting families, particularly on the south side of Lambertville. Cavallo Park was an essential space for children, and its closure has created a gap in recreational opportunities. In addition to the closure of the park, I must also address the unfortunate timing of the ongoing library renovation. While I fully support improvements to our community spaces, the timing of this project, with both the park and the library out of commission simultaneously, has compounded the difficulty for many families. The library is a crucial resource for education, community connection, and support, and its temporary closure further limits the opportunities available to residents in this part of the town. I urge the city council to prioritize in finding solutions that ensure all neighborhoods are served equitably. I would like to offer two potential solutions to help alleviate the impact on families in the south side of Lambertville during this period. First, I want to bring to the council's attention an opportunity for funding that could help us enhance our recreational spaces. The Hunterdon County Commissioner Board is offering a grant program in 2025 to support the improvement and enhancement of recreational spaces. The deadline for application is August 29th, and I strongly encourage the city to consider applying for this grant to support the renovation of Cavallo Park Playground. Second, I proposed the consideration of a temporary playground space in the Lambertville Station parking lot, specifically where the construction area used to be. This area is already an established resource frequently used for community events such as Shad Fest, and it could serve as a viable location for a temporary playground. By utilizing this space, we could create a safe and accessible play area for children while construction is ongoing at Cavallo Park. Both of these solutions would be meaningful steps towards mitigating the impacts of these closures. I believe they are practical, cost-effective options that will support the well-being of our families and ensure they continue to have access to much-needed public resources. Thank you for your time and attention. I look forward to hearing how the council will respond to these concerns and work to improve the situation for all of our residents, especially the families who rely on these essential community spaces. Thank you.
Thanks. Sarah, will you respond to all of those things? Thank you, for speaking. The timing of the library isn't, unfortunately, we didn't control the timing. I think the library has had lead paint on it for 50 years now, and, it's taken three years to sort of come up with funding, a plan. So, all I can say is that in a couple of months, the library is going to be fantastic. It's going to be repainted, the interior is being repainted, new carpeting, and they still do have programming. We have a lot of people coming to the conference room at City Hall, where they've got a pop-up library. They have book time here in which days is it, Wednesday? Tuesdays for like 5 or 6 hours. So, they're trying to do the best to provide additional services while the library is undergoing this really, I think, a critical renovation. It's a great project. I'm glad that we're finally able to kind of get it done. In terms of the park, obviously, we talked about this at the council level. This is a problem that has been, we've been trying to sort through for years. The park is closed for the foreseeable future. I don't have the timeline. There were some folks down there today from BSTI collecting soil samples. All I can say about the park is that I will continue to keep everybody updated in my weekly newsletter, timelines, and what we can expect. We have, the city has bonded capital funds for any work that needs to be done at the park, including potential remediation of soils. So, and the timing is just going to be what the timing is. Unfortunately, there's a lot of entities involved here. Not just a question of the LSRP, but the state is involved, the DEP, the city. So I'm doing my best to move things forward weekly. We're also having to move things forward in a structured, organized way because Green Acres funding is tied into this project as well. What I can tell you is that I'm doing my best to keep on top of it every week, asking for updates to be sent to the DEP and really trying to move it along as quickly but as safely and as efficiently as possible. The Hunterdon County Parks Grant, I believe we have somebody working on that grant. So one of our big projects for 2026 will be to start a community garden out at the Holcomb Park. So the Environmental Commission, working with the Parks and Rec Commission, is working on a 14-month timeframe with deliverables in terms of getting that up and running as a community garden. So we're hoping that we're going to be able to make that space accessible, ADA accessible to the best of our ability, and certainly the county grant will help us with that. So somebody is working on that. I'm happy to reach out to the Lambertville station. It's obviously a private property, so I can certainly ask. The only other thing I would note is that the playground at St. Andrews is expanding. I just walked by today, they were working on it, and that will be open to the public during the renovation, not during the school hours, we can get that to you, but they're expanding the access to that smaller park on York Street for families who are affected by the closure of Cavallo Park. I'm certainly more than willing to entertain any other ideas or suggestions you have. A group has started up in town called the Lambertville Explorers. Fantastic. They're getting kids out, at least twice a month on hikes and things in the city and other things. So, there's some other opportunities kind of coming up here as the summer approaches, and children benefit from activities. So you should feel free to call me directly if you have any other questions. I'm happy to help coordinate. And if you want to write to me, I will follow up with, or send me your phone number. I'll follow up with the Lambertville station as well.
Yeah, and the Parks and Recreation Commission is taking a look at Ely Field to put in some things for
That's true.
younger students as well.
So yeah, so there's some additional equipment that they're looking at putting in over there. We need to get the permission from the DNR Canal Commission. Nothing is ever straightforward or like that. So we're working, the Park and Rec is working through that. It's a very devoted commission with people who really want to make sure that they've done a lot in the last couple of years. So that was a good point, Cindy.
Is there something we could offer the community just in terms of open play space at the Clausen property behind Fisherman's Mark? Since we own that property?
Certainly, it's a park, and we encourage people to go up there. I've been meaning to get a couple of picnic tables up there.
Better than nothing, right?
That's it.
It's just wondering about that.
That's right.
Right. The toys are for us, for the parents.
Right.
All right.
There is a park up in Cotton Hill.
That's right. There's Arnett Park, which has just gotten some much needed upgrades. We planted some trees, we moved some newer picnic tables up there. Thanks, Brad, John. All right, anyone else in the room?
Dave Bird, 255 Brunswick Avenue in Lambertville. Just a follow-up comment for consideration if it's not already been done. But has LPS been contacted to see if what we used to call a kindergarten playground could be made available to the residents during off hours? So, but that's just another thought. Following up on Mr. Tittle's comment and resolution 78/2025 and 79/2025 for PFAS environmental consulting and legal assistance. I would ask that during the consideration of this resolution, because this is the only time we can bring up these questions, all right, is to detail the purpose and expected outcome from the expenditure, and also talk about the partnership alignment with West Amwell Township, the neighbors to this municipality, to see if there is a consideration of working together and saving the money and spreading the resource. The other thing that is the Historic Preservation Commission ordinance that's going to come up tonight. I just want to make sure I got it right at the last meeting. Is the authority is only in the what's it CBD, all right, but they're available as a as a consultant for the rest of the city. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to have a very brief statement when we get to the resolutions about the two that are going to be mentioned here. And I'll talk a little bit about the HPC ordinance when we get there as well. Anyone else? Any comments or questions in the room? How about our single person online?
We do now.
Okay. Oh,
Still not the answer.
No other interest in the public participation period. I'll make a motion to close it. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Hi, I just wanted to, say a couple of things, about what is, about what we were talking about, just to,
Please.
you know, I wanna say, hear you about, putting a robust defense on, when we're talking about our housing issues. The environmental issues are very, very concerning. And it is incumbent upon us to be able to retain, if we need, an additional consultant to prepare that material to present to the court. And that should be part of our ongoing activity. I probably, that you don't want to hear my spiel about what, you know, the environmental issues there, the environmental issues we uncovered more recently, and look how it has mushroomed into such a, you know, one home after another, after another, after another. So it's incumbent upon us to also get that assistance as well. And I also think it's incumbent upon us to present a more clarified picture of what's going on with the department. We talked about that before in closed session as well. I feel, you know, we need to advocate for you and be able to paint this picture of where this DEP issue is going and what their vision is and how this is going to progress and where's the testing going next. And being able to provide that. And we talked about a way to do that, of working with the township attorney. I'll be happy to work with her as well to be able to provide that. And then if you have another question, we'll take it back because everybody deserves the answers and the information. And it's a complicated issue, it's a puzzling issue, and it's a horrible issue if you don't want to drink the water that's coming out of your faucet and you have to go through all of this machinations just to be able to, you know, feel good about, you know, taking a drink. So that's my feeling on those issues.
Refer the letter to the judge.
Mr.
I'm sorry, public comments, close.
Mr. Towns made a really important point, I think, in that we also have to make sure that our fair share attorney I don't know what the word is, but you know, kind of making sure that the critical issue in this case is the contamination. And we have to make sure that our attorney presents that forcefully to the court so that the judge is aware of the concerns. Because you know, you hear things like, oh, well, the wells are contaminated. We'll just give them municipal water. That'll solve the problem. You know, when it's in everything, it's not such an easy answer. So I think, you know, for me, this whole issue it pivoted on the contamination aspect of it. You know, I went from somewhat supportive to no support because of that particular issue. And I think we have to, Mayor, we have to make sure that our attorney understands that that's really a key. It's the linchpin of our defense in this case. But I'm aware.
Okay, yeah, just a couple of follow-up thoughts. So Councilman Kaminsky has agreed to serve as a liaison with me, between me and the city attorney to work with the DEP to really take a more proactive stance and get more information. Certainly my communication with them has been, I think, good. They've been responsive, but I look forward to working with Councilwoman in terms of kind of improving and building on some of the work that DEP is planning to do and being, getting the timelines clarified and that kind of thing. So we'll be in touch on that point. And, you know, I wouldn't. I think that's all I'm gonna say at the moment. And let's see, Marcia, I think we talked about this at the last meeting, and I put a note in from out just to clarify. So the DEP is going to be testing wells on Cottage Hill, another 20 wells on Cottage Hill, and 20 more wells on Hana Hill. They have provided me the list of the addresses, which I can't share publicly, but it's a range, it's a radius on Cottage Hill. So, they'll be reaching out. They should, I think the letters were, I haven't had confirmation from them if the letters have been sent, but they, will be testing, on both those hills, more extensively. That's all I'm going to say here. So we've closed the public comment period. I'm gonna move on to proclamations. So we have two proclamations, this evening. One is for Arbor Day. We do this every year. I think, did we not close it?
I thought.
Yeah, I did.
the last one to vote?
Yeah, we closed.
We closed.
Yeah, we
Then we chatted about it. Yeah.
I'm good.
She doesn't count on public.
Yeah.
She can,
Whatever.
That's right.
She can,
It got in under the wire.
All right, so everybody read the proclamation for Arbor Day. I've been reading this evening, but we do this every year, and this year, the council president will be planting a tree with the Shade Tree Commission, or baptizing a tree, or.
Right up
or
in
something.
shovel.
I don't think they actually have a shovel. I think you have a shovel. And, you know.
another skill I'll be able to.
Watch out for the manure.
You're right.
Trees are important. I just to say that. There's no motion to adopt the proclamation for Arbor Day, please.
Second.
All in favor of proclamation for Arbor Day, please say aye. Aye. Thank you, motion carries. Now we have the Youth Week proclamation. Jenna Clark is here. She's the exalted will of the LSOS number 1070. She and I have been talking about ways in which the city can work with the youth in our communities to increase and improve their civic understanding of how government works and how we operate. So she's been a great advocate for this. I'm looking forward to having a bunch of students in City Hall for a couple of days, hopefully, talking about all the things that we have to do, like all the things that we've been talking about tonight in terms of budget and permits and everything, all that stuff. So she will also be working with Lieutenant Brown of the police department to have some interface over there, so that local students will understand how the police department and works and how incredibly wonderful they are in terms of supporting our community. So welcome, Jenna. And are there any questions from the council about this Youth Week proclamation? Okay, may I have a motion to adopt, please?
So move.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Jenna, thanks for being here, and we're here for you, so you just let me know when you're ready to start loading us up with students. Yeah. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda. Resolutions on the consent agenda are considered routine and shall be enacted by one motion. Should any member of the city council seek discussion of any item, that item shall be removed and discussed separately. I just wanted to talk very briefly about resolution number 80-2025 and resolution number 81-2025. These would be appointments for the first one would be for the company called Integral for technical assessment, the preliminary data assessment for PFAS. It's to review kind of the existing data, reports that are available publicly, and so forth, to give us kind of a baseline. It's really an initial phase of understanding kind of technically what the challenges are the city faces and residents face in the PFAS contamination. The second resolution 81-2025 is a resolution to appoint Jeremy D'Angeli of Goldberg Segala, and this is because, as it was noted by Mr. Tittle, the city has more than 31 tort claims have been filed against the city for PFAS contaminated 95 potential claimants in this matter. And so this firm will be representing the city in terms of looking at that and potentially, assisting us with the defense, when things come, before us. So, was there anything else that the council had, in terms of the, consent agenda questions? Okay. Hearing none, I would ask for someone to make a motion to adopt the consent agenda. These are, motions number 76, 2025 through 86-2025.
So moved.
I'll second it. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Guys. Approval of bills list, we talked about this a little earlier. I signed all the checks today, Cindy signs them, Lieutenant Brown is a co-signer, council president is a co-signer. So all the checks in the city are signed, except for there's some payroll checks that are signed by 2 people, everything else is signed by 3 people. So, it takes a long time to get all these checks signed on Thursdays, the council meetings, so I'm there at 8 o'clock in the morning, and Cindy and Lieutenant Brown. So I assume the council will have look at the bills list and is someone's going to make a motion to pay the bill if you want.
So moved.
Second, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Pay the bills. We have some ordinances to consider tonight. First reading, first one is ordinance number 7-2025. This is an ordinance to amend the Lambertville City Code 2014, Chapter 10, Uniform Construction Code Enforcing Agency to amend the fee schedule. So, we talked again, about kind of ways in which we try to keep current with, not just the rise of inflation in terms of appropriation, but also in revenues, right? So we need to be mindful of that. This ordinance is, I think, a very modest approach to raising some of our fees, in the construction office. Does anyone on the council have any, thing to say about it?
Not about this particular ordinance, but in general, I would seem to remember, I don't know if it was a year or 18 months back, we lowered fees for amusement and devices,
Oh, yeah.
vending machines, and we lowered them pretty significantly. Is that not an opportunity to at least bring them back up to where they were? And, and I mean, in terms of like being able to provide, increased revenue. I'm not sure why I don't remember why we lowered them, but it seemed like we cut them back pretty significantly.
I think that we lowered them to support,
An arcade.
an arcade because we thought it was an important social environment for teenagers and adults. So that was the reason behind that. We want to encourage that social.
Many, I believe, too, we were talking about, there aren't as many, cigarette machines, or, there's not as much of that here, so, so really focused on that, and we were giving them a little, encouragement in terms of.
Well,
And plus many of those fees were in place since the 40s, and they went back quite a bit when there were pool tables.
Yeah, pool table.
yeah, I'm just trying to figure if we can strike a balance, that's all, between the people who, are levied, with their taxes, their property taxes, and, if there's an opportunity, but,
Well, I think that we can put that as a conversation for the May 1st meeting. I'm always willing to talk about opportunities.
like, we don't have to overcharge, but like, maybe we could nudge them up a little, just like we're nudging these up a little bit. Cause I don't think it's a good idea to just like, I don't remember what the decrease was, but say it was like a 50% decrease. I don't think it's a good idea to just, prop it back up to that, but maybe, I don't know, 10%, I don't know, it helps a little bit. Sure. And it's really about the community as a whole as well. Hopefully, with the little bit of help that has given the business, they might be in a position to be a little more.
And there's always possibility to, as we had done with other projects, is build in an increase over a certain amount of years so the business knows what's happening as well in the city. And we've done that with the parking sticker.
We have, and honestly, I'll go out on a line, I don't live here, I think we should be doing it with parking meters. where parking meters are still much less expensive than new home. And if you want to talk about reducing the burden on the tax bill of the taxpayer, you know, I understand that people come into the city and that's increasing the burden on visitors, but you know, everything is a choice, right?
Right, yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's a give and take.
right. All right, I forgot where we were. So were there any questions about this?
Sorry.
That's okay. I think that's, the questions are good. Then I would ask for the motion to introduce ordinance number 07/2025, the public hearing scheduled for May 15th, 2025.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Next is ordinance number 08/2025. This is an ordinance to amend the Lambertville Land Use Ordinances, Article 9, Historic Preservation Commission, Land Development Review, Section 900. So we had an informational session about this ordinance at our last meeting. There's a lot of great conversation. I see we have a couple of people here from the Historic Preservation Commission this evening. Thanks for being here. And again, thanks for all of your work that you've done on this. Currently, our current ordinance is only pertains to the central business district. This ordinance would allow possibility of an expansion, but that's a very complicated, it's a very layered process. There's a lot of public input and a lot of council action that would be required. So it's in there, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen. We'll have, did we put all the resources online? Did we put the memo?
Highlighted,
Yeah, so,
no, actually, because we don't do it until it's introduced.
okay, okay,
Oh, it is, we can already?
okay.
Yeah.
So the ordinance is available to take a look at online. As we do, when we're amending ordinances, we highlight the new sections so that everybody can be clear about what's new and what's original in the ordinance. Pending introduction of this ordinance tonight, or following potential introduction of this ordinance tonight, this would go to the planning board for their review and recommendation on
May 7th.
Mason to the council for second reading and public hearing on May. So, does council have any questions?
No, I was just thinking in spirit of what we were talking about when the good folks from the Historic Preservation Commission came. The last time of that, since the CBD is really our historic preservation, area, that it might be really neat to get to start collecting perhaps some pictures of how it's grown and changed, and particularly maybe along Coriel Street. I know because there's a lot of talk about all of those buildings, and we may be seeing a lot of activity there. And I think we need to, as Lisa was saying, and who's just an outstanding preservationist, about understanding the features of these buildings, some of the things we may want to look into the next step of preserving and asking for, and to see how these buildings have evolved. Because when you look at a building now, it's not what it looked like, in 1910 or in there's porches that are missing or porticos over it, and it would be really nice to see, because it would add to the experience and also our appreciation of the historic values of these buildings as we, kind of look ahead to the future, or see, the future building or whatever. So I really, Lisa isn't here, but you are, sorry for your name, but maybe, we could do that. I think it would be kind of a neat exercise, and we really do. We have some really incredible, buildings there, and they've changed over the years, and it's really neat to see how they started out and how it's evolved. So that's.
Thanks for that. Reminds me of a couple of things. One, Hunterdon County is now undergoing an inventory here as part of their resource inventory. So a bunch of us have volunteered to do the training for that and to come into the city and do an inventory of historic buildings in the city. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm actually hoping that we're going to schedule a training with the county up at the Holcomb House. And if anybody's interested in being part of that training, let me know. Secondly, the Historic Preservation Commission several years ago did create a book with a lot of wonderful photos of vernacular architectural styles here in Lambertville. And one of the things I'm going to ask for in my capital budget, my capital bond ordinance next month is a small amount of money for the Historic Preservation Commission to get that book up and printed, right? So that it can become a resource and also can be offered for sale to residents who are interested in it. And possibly even expanded on maybe some of the things that you're talking about. I'm very happy with this conversation that we're having about historic preservation and our goals and establishing them and keeping to them and, expanding them, but also being, mindful that things evolve in a historic town, right? So. All right, so much for not talking too much. I said I'm gonna be on the quieter side. So I would like, unless there's any other questions, to have somebody make a motion to introduce ordinance number 08-2025 with a public hearing scheduled for May 15th.
So moved.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, the next ordinance for consideration, introduction tonight is ordinance number 10-2025. This is an ordinance to amend the revised general ordinances of the city, 1990Z, zoning 406 central business district, section zoning 406.13 conditions for cannabis retailer. We've talked about this several times here in public meetings. This bill would allow for any business, any cannabis retail business with a good record of 12 months or longer to expand their current hours under the ordinance. So there's been broad support for the existing cannabis retail operation in the Second Business District on Church Street, big by the river. And this is the way that we're able to kind of accommodate an extension of hours in the Central Business District zone only. Will not impact the other retailers of cannabis in other districts of the city. So, council? Good? Motion?
So move.
Second? I'll second. All in favor, please say
I
aye.
have a question.
Aye. That's all right.
Sorry, is there anything in here? In this modification that would give the city, the ability to rescind the hours extension for some purpose, I don't know, do we need to have that in here, you think?
Cindy, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if Jessica's gonna know the answer to this, and we can certainly get that question. The licenses have to be renewed every year,
Yes.
and that's contingent on the city council.
Okay.
Not approving them, but there are.
So before we actually do this, we go through a review and we look to see how many complaints we work with the police department, before we actually do
Right.
renewal.
Right, we want to be able to encourage, good behavior, for lack of a better term.
So we do go through that process. I don't think the cannabis licenses come before you like the ABC do.
No,
But
I
we
think so.
do a cursory review. We start at the beginning of May. Their licenses run July 1 to June 30th, just like the ABC licenses.
Okay, thank you.
And I would just say, in the spirit of, a small town, right? I think that this business in particular, we have a great relationship with them. The city has a great relationship with them. They've been very helpful and upfront and accommodating. And, I know the law is the law, but I think that we have a great relationship and we can use that if an issue comes up.
Well, the ordinance lays it out, an ordinance will take it out.
Right.
If it's not performing the way that
Right,
the neighborhood feels, so it's not a forever approval, it's an approval to do it.
Right, I think this is the third time we've amended the cannabis ordinance since it was enacted in 2021 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I was involved with Councilman Sanders on this. It was always a ordinance that we knew that we would be amending somehow as time goes through. So this is just another amendment we made to have to help business in the CBD, but it's also
worded in such a way where it's, where if it acts negatively on the community, we will take those to heart and work with the purveyor, whichever one of the two it is, to make sure that our permission that we're giving them to stay open later is not a negative, doesn't leave a negative taste with the surrounding residential area, so, yeah.
Okay, was there was a motion?
Yeah. Okay. So do we make the motion to that last?
So Councilman Stegman made the motion, you seconded,
Thank you.
and so now we just need a vote. Noting that Councilwoman Truinsky is.
All right. So, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you, Councilman, Biden. Right. Let's. Yes, thanks. Let's just gonna make that. That's it right now. Yeah, so we're moving on to the second reading of ordinances. The first ordinance this evening for second reading is ordinance number 04-2025. It's an ordinance to amend the Lambertville City Code, 2014, Chapter 7, traffic to install 2 handicap parking spaces. So this would create 2 different handicap parking spaces in front of 138 South Main Street and on the north side of York Street in front of 65 York. So this is the second reading, public hearing. I would ask any members of the public who wish to speak to this ordinance to step up to the mic, state your name and address and give a question or concern. Anyone who would like to speak to this ordinance? All right, I'll make a motion to close the public comment period on this ordinance.
Second.
All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. This is a fairly routine matter, so I will just ask for a motion to adopt on second reading, granting final approval for ordinance number 4-2025. All second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next is ordinance number 05-2025, the salary and wage ordinance. Established range for city employees. As you may note, if you looked at the agenda, the changes are made in yellow. We've moved some obsolete ranges for employees that positions that no longer exist. That's pretty straightforward. And we'll, as I mentioned, I think at the last time, we're going to move to a different process for this. We're going to do it yearly for the entire for all the employees in the city, rather than bump them up when they're coming up against the 2% increase, which is less confusing for us in terms of internal processes and finance and HR. Are there any members of the public that should consider the ordinance? Anybody online? All right, I'll make a motion to close the public comment period for ordinance number 5-2025. And have a second, please.
Second, your second.
Seconded it.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Motion carries. Ordinance number 6-2025. This ordinance of the city of Lambertville, County of Hunterdon, New Jersey, would approve an affordable housing deed restriction for the accessory apartment owned by the city and located at 6 Lily Street.
Keeping there, we closed the public hearing, but did we vote on it?
We did.
Yeah. So I just have that you closed the public hearing, but I don't have to vote.
Okay. So let's do this again. I'm pretty sure that we did it. Anyway, so I said I'll make a motion to.
Oh, you seconded it.
Yeah, but that was to.
That was that one. I'll vote yes.
Yeah, but motion passes.
Okay, thank you, I'm sorry.
We'll just,
Let's just do it one more time. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Thank you.
All right, no ambiguity.
I didn't hear Evan.
Evan, did you say aye?
I did, yes.
Oh,
I think I did.
thank you.
Thanks. So we're now talking about ordinance number 6-2025, the deed restriction on the accessory apartment owned by the city at 6 Lily Street. This will be added for a affordable housing, our fourth round, and for a 30-year period of time. It's a wonderful apartment, and I think it's a nice thing for the city to have. I'll open this up to the public for comment or questions. All right, no one online? Okay,
Did you share the amount of the lease? What is the cost to rent that?
700 a month,
so I'm not about.
700 a month.
Okay.
All right. May I please? Put in my now last.
So you have to have a motion to close the public.
Thank you. We have a motion to close the public comment period.
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The public comment period is closed. And may I have a motion to approve, to adopt ordinance, number 6. Final approval.
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
That's great.
Thank you.
One more, affordable housing unit in Manville. No correspondence, just a couple of notes about ongoing projects. We talked about the library already. The work is going quickly, the lead remediation, they're expecting to have it done in the next couple of weeks. In the building, we've got the painters all lined up for the exterior. Once the lead remediation is complete and the building is primed, the bricks will be, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the list. 3-pointed, thank you very much.
sure you want to get back early then, at the end of the month, and take the extra few days.
So the library's moved along really, really well. Two other things I wanted to note. So we worked pretty hard on getting a structure in place to create a farm market on Sundays in the library parking lot. Had a few applications, and I'm gonna pull this project until next year. We have a couple of volunteers who are really, one of them is really an expert in farm markets. She's been participating in a farm market for many years. She started farm markets, and I think we need just a little bit more time. It came in a little bit. If we could please refrain from talking, I'd appreciate it. Thanks. Just, it's hard for other people to hear. And then I lose my train of thought.
Farm market.
Farm market, yeah.
There is a person,
Yes, so we've had a couple of great volunteers. Anyway, I'm gonna put this off until the fall. We've got the structure in place. We're interested, but given kind of the late way we started, so we're having some problems getting people, farms convened. So in October, we'll be talking about this again. And then, just in terms of announcements, I have one announcement. Cindy Iggy is noticing a meeting that's going to be held on Thursday, May 8th. John Connors of Brickstone Realty and Ron Gorodeski, the president of Refined Hospitality, will hold an informal meeting here in the Justice Center. It will not be a city meeting, but these are the folks who have purchased the Coriel Street properties. And they are inviting the public to a conversation. They want to show kind of what their thoughts are, what their proposed plans are, answer questions, hear concerns, and have a general conversation. So that meeting is being noticed, and the reason why it's being noticed is because all the council and planning board members may wish to attend. There will be no action taken at that meeting. It's not a city meeting. It's just a meeting in which property owners and developers can meet with the residents and have a conversation. If I understand that we'll have some slides and visuals for people to take a look at. So that will be noticed. We'll probably put in landfill matters. Obviously, it's an area of interest for many people here in the city.
and that's the 8th.
It's
May 8th.
Thursday, May 8th, 7 p.m. here. Did you have a question?
No,
Oh,
that was my question.
okay.
What day?
Yeah, so May 8th, 7 p.m. Website, just a reminder to check on the website of the landing page for all news. We also post on Facebook. And we post many news events and medical matters every week. If you're not registered, or if you're not registered for that, please sign up. I'm happy to help anybody with that. City offices are closed tomorrow, Good Friday, in observation of the holiday. Chat Fest is scheduled for next weekend, April 26th and 27th. Sparkle Week, we've already started to kind of put this out there. Monday, April 28th through May 2nd will be zones 3 and 4. The zones are your trash zones, and Monday, May 5th through Friday, May 9th will be zones 1 and 2.
And that's on the website. Right?
It's on the website. We'll be putting it in Lambert Hill Matters, probably weekly, maybe, or we could put it in weekly. It's the first big event. And we'll know that at the next meeting as well. The Pride Parade is Saturday, May 17th, and, we will have the annual Memorial Day Parade as well on that Monday,
I think it's May 26th.
May 26th. We'll talk about that as well. All right, I would now open this up to the second public participation, period, same, guidelines as before. We ask you this, unless you have mobility issues, to step to the microphone, state your name and address. You have 3 minutes of uninterrupted time. And let's see, we'll, give you a 30-second point. Anybody have anything to say? Okay. Anybody online? All right. Any motion to close the public comment period?
So moved.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming. We appreciate, as always, seeing our residents here, taking an interest in everything that's going on in the city. And on that note, I will wish everybody a nice weekend and ask for motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.